Breaking news. Sony, Canon, and Nikon have all leaked important new lenses that are going to be released in the next couple of months, more than a dozen of them. Some of them I'm definitely going to buy them myself. I'm going to tell you all about it, but first I want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace makes beautiful websites incredibly easy, whether it's for your photography portfolio, your video reel, or any type of business, restaurant, doctor's office, whatever you do. Set up a website at squarespace.com/Tony. You'll be amazed how easy it is. Take advantage of full analytics, a store, take appointments from clients. When you love it, use the coupon code Tony and you'll get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace. First of all, little economics pop quiz. What do you get when you give a whole lot of people thousands of dollars of stimulus money and then keep interest rates near zero for years? You get inflation, and that's what we're experiencing right now. Gas prices are up, housing prices are through the roof. All of my local restaurants, they've recently redone their menus, and you know what? They raised their prices. It's not limited to just one part of our lives, it's everywhere. So it's no surprise that Canon is announcing price increases, as well as Nikon, Sony, Leica, TT Artisan, Tokina, Zeiss, throughout the board. Existing products that have MSRPs already, they're raising their prices. And I have not seen this happen before. Generally, over the course of a lifetime, the highest price any photography equipment is on launch day. And then over the course of years, we see it drop 10%, 20%, 30%. I've never seen them change the MSRP to increase it. We are living in historic times. This is just one small slice of what's happening in the world. It's pretty scary. Pretty soon we're all going to have to ask for raises. First up, new Sony lenses. The Sony 16-35 is confirmed. It's fully released, and in fact we had it beforehand. We just had an emergency and we couldn't release our video on time on the embargo date, but our review should be out soon. A quick teaser, it's actually amazing. The new Sony lenses have gotten to be incredibly sharp. They pretty much universally dramatically outperform older Sony lenses. This one, well, subscribe to see their full review if it's not out before this video is. Up next, a lens that fulfills a very important need for me, the Sony 24-70 f2.8 Mark II. The original was one of their first professional grade lenses, and it was not great. It was okay, but I compared it to the Canon 24-70 f2.8, and I started using the Canon lens on an adapter on my Sony body. It's not that sharp, the contrast isn't great, it doesn't autofocus that well. I know Sony's going to fix all of these things with the Mark II version of this, because that's what they did with the amazing 70-200. The old one, not that great. I know people raved about it, but when you compare it to the new one, you see just how far Sony lens development has come, so I cannot wait to try that lens out. There's also a loose rumor from SonyAlphaRumors.com saying that the 28mm f1.4 will be coming. That is probably, it's totally believable. I don't think anybody would make that up because it's not an exciting thing. Sony's been rounding out their arrangement of fast prime lenses, and it makes sense that they would fill one more spot in. Now let's go to Nikon and reveal the new Nikon lenses that are coming. Nikon officially announced in development an 800mm f6.3. That's kind of a weird f-stop. Manufacturers pretty much agreed that 800mm was going to be f5.6, but that was coming from an era where many DSLRs could not autofocus with anything higher than f5.6. With that limitation removed with the latest mirrorless cameras where they can autofocus up to f22 or whatever, their lens designs are no longer constrained by minimum aperture requirements. Thus, they can make everything a little bit more efficient by maybe shrinking the aperture down just a little bit. This is exciting. Along with Nikon's new 400mm f2.8, Nikon is finally starting to build some professional grade telephotos. They, of course, were just waiting for the Z9 to be launched because none of their other mirrorless cameras performed well with telephoto lenses, so it was better that they wait. I'm really glad to see these coming, and I can't wait to try it out for some wildlife photography. We also have in our hands, waiting for us to test, the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8. This is sort of the inexpensive portrait prime. I personally love 85mm for portraits. It's not too far, not too close, still intimate, and you don't have to shout at your portrait client, but you can still completely blow out the background, so it's kind of become my favorite focal length. At $400, it's half the price of the Nikon f1.8, But how does it perform compared to it? I don't know the answer to that yet because I haven't yet had a chance to test it, but we will do that soon, so subscribe to this channel. And finally, the big news, Canon has a ton of new lenses. They officially announced the 800 f/5.6 and the 1200mm f8. Now, we personally own Canon's 600mm f4 RF lens. That's a $13,000 lens, and the prices for these scale proportionately. These are $17,000 and $20,000 lenses targeted specifically towards wildlife, but also some sports photographers like surfing photographers or some racing photographers where you have to be a set distance back and you can't get much closer. Now, our new RF 600 f4 was based completely on the old DSLR design. All they basically did was optimize the image stabilization and put an EF to RF adapter permanently on the back of the lens. It's a little bit disappointing, but still the lens overall performs really well. What CanonNews.com is saying about these is that they are essentially the 400mm f2.8 and the 600mm f4 with a built-in 2x teleconverter. So it seems like Canon is reusing some of their optical formulas, which I think is okay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But part of the problem comes in when you start to look at the sharpness measured on these MTF charts. Canon News took a look at this, and what they saw was that the 1200mm f8 wasn't any sharper in the center of the image than the 600mm f4 with a 2x teleconverter. Now, as you get out to the edges of the image, you might be able to perceive just a slight difference, but even so, they're both actually really, really sharp. And of course, the 1200mm f2.8 is $20,000 compared to $13,000. So it's a huge price increase, but you're also giving up a massive amount of versatility because if you're like us and you have that 600 f4, you often take off the teleconverter depending on the subject. And of course, in wildlife photography, your goal is always to get closer because you'll get so much sharper images when you can reduce the amount of atmosphere between you and the subject. So you're always trying to get closer and really fill the frame without a teleconverter, but you don't really have that option if you get the 1200mm f8. And so I am not really drawn to it, but I would like to test it to see if it actually does perform better with faraway subjects. Maybe there are a few of you in the audience who actually have 20 grand that you might drop on a very, very specialized and huge lens. Canon News also looked at the 400mm f2.8 with a 2x teleconverter versus the 800mm f5.6, and they found kind of the same thing. The MTF charts look pretty much identical. Most people are going to be better served by just having a 400 and putting a 2x teleconverter on that. Still, there are going to be some pros who really want the specialized lens and might be put off by having to use a 2x teleconverter. There might even be pros who aren't willing to switch to the Canon RF system until they see this entire suite of lenses. So maybe it's just there to comfort them. Canon also announced that the R3 orders taken today probably won't be fulfilled for at least 6 months. Canon, Sony, especially Nikon, are having huge supply chain problems. They cannot get the in-demand cameras to us fast enough. So it does beg the question, why are they even releasing new gear until they can actually manufacture and ship the stuff that they have? Well, that might be why we haven't seen any exciting announcements anytime soon. Everybody's just taking a beat, putting more time into R&D, so the next round will be more exciting, but until the chips and the supply chain problems are worked out, we might not actually be able to get our hands on the gear that's already out there. I know, me personally, I'm really tempted to sell our R3 because it's actually selling for above MSRP right now on places like eBay because, of course, people can't buy it new, so your only option is to buy it used. If you do want to get an R3, here's a tip. Join Canon Professional Services. They can often put you at the top of the waiting list, so you might be able to get your camera much faster. And thanks to CanonRumors.com for giving us a lot of that Canon information. Canon financial reports reveal quite a bit. In fact, Canon announced that they're continuing to really aggressively build out their RF lens lineup. This is great news for anybody shooting one of the Canon R cameras. They have a lot of lenses now, but they don't compete with Sony, and you end up adapting a lot of DSLR lenses. Well, Canon's going to go from 26 lenses, I think, to 39 lenses over the next 4 years. Look, if a friend asks me what camera they should get, should it be Sony or Canon or Nikon, I really factor this in. Both the Canon and Nikon mirrorless infrastructures are brand new and the lenses are really limited. But if you can get the lenses you need now and the camera system is going to grow at a pace at least as fast as your own needs, then you're gonna be okay. And so I take comfort in seeing a roadmap like this where I know Canon's going to be releasing a lot of lenses. CanonRumors.com reported that a series of different telephoto DO lenses are currently in testing. These 5 lenses, ranging from 400mm f3.5 to 800mm 9.5, use their DO optics, which provide compact and lightweight telephoto lenses, a technology that we've seen and been really excited about for some time. But CanonRumors is saying that only one of these is actually going to make it to production, and it's looking like one of the 500s is going to be the winner. So in addition to those super telephotos we talked about, you should be able to get a more moderate 500mm telephoto. Looks like it's going to be high quality based on the aperture number, but probably lighter weight than your old DSLR lenses. CanonRumors also revealed some Canon lens patents, which are based on publicly available information. A patent doesn't mean a lens is coming for sure. But Canon is going to be releasing a lot of new lenses that we know, and these are designs they're working on, so it seems pretty likely. Another lightweight telephoto, this is a patent for an 800mm f5.6, a mirror lens. Now traditionally mirror lenses, we haven't really been using them a lot for wildlife because they're typically manually focused. So I wonder if Canon might be able to overcome that. It makes sense. If you could manually focus a lens, you could probably build some sort of autofocus mechanism into it, right? The mirror design makes for weird bokeh, but it provides for extremely compact and lightweight telephoto lenses, and it's pretty much what all astrophotography, like deep space astrophotography, is based on. So they had a patent for a 13-inch 800mm f5.6 lens. That's extremely small, light, and pretty fast. They also had a patent for a 15-inch 1200mm f8 lens. Both of these would be amazing, and it sounds like a dream, but keep in mind the limitations of a mirror design and the fact that we might never see them in production. There's also a patent for a 135mm f2. Now this is an existing DSLR Canon lens, so I'm confident that we'll at some point see an RF version of it. It is a very common and popular focal length. This is essentially an 85mm f1.4 lens, but a little bit longer. For those photographers who want to compress the facial features a little bit, make big noses and foreheads a little bit more discreet, and provide a little more working distance, just for those people working for primes. 135mm, a little long for me for portraits, but I know that's a lot of people's styles. The patent's out, so we should be seeing it soon. Canon is also rumored to release a couple of new Super 35 cinema lenses. So these are basically APS-C lenses. Now they have existing cinema lenses in the range of 15.5 to 47mm and 30 to 105, and it seems like these are going to be the replacements for them. They're both going to be T2. So this doesn't mean a lot to you unless you're a cinema photographer, but if you're thinking about buying the existing lenses, maybe hold out a little bit until those are released. That is the news. In the comments down below, I'd like to hear what you're excited about and what you want to see us review. And thank you to our sponsor, Squarespace, which is the best way to make any type of website, but especially a photography portfolio, because their designs are absolutely gorgeous and they highlight your pictures so much better than social media possibly could. Try it out today at squarespace.com/Tony. It's completely free, no credit card required. I promise in a few minutes you'll have your own website up and running. If you look at it and you love it, use the coupon code Tony to buy it, have your own domain, get your private emails instead of yahoo.com. I literally had to send a yahoo.com email to someone today, a business, and it seems so unprofessional. So please don't be like that. Get your own domain at squarespace.com/Tony. Thank you so much. Bye.